Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio, and I'm here with my friend and co-author Nancy Saxton-Lopez. And this is a program that we do every Thursday. It's good to be back. I've been
Yeah,
traveling, so it's good to be back with you.
yeah,
And
you too can.
this is every Thursday from 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time till about 6:30. And it's a way for us to take the work that we compiled into the book, The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups, which, by the way, is now available as an audiobook, and do an extended reach through a podcast. And so what we do in a lot of these episodes, and we'll be doing it today, is we read letters from people who have written to us and tell us the stories of their animals passing and a lot about their animal's life and what they meant
Hmm.
to them and how they're doing. And we give some commentary on the letters that we receive. So please feel free to send us your story. You can reach me at kenddv at gmail.com. You can reach Nancy at nancysaxtonlopez at gmail.com. And if you write to us, please let us know if it's okay to share your story. You can tell us also that we can share it with some omissions, and that's fine as well.
Hmm.
And you can also tell us that you don't want us to share it,
And
and
that's fine
one
also.
of us or both of us will get back to you in any case. You can support our work in a number of ways, and the information I'm sharing in the beginning here is available on the description that accompanies the program, wherever you may see it. And so you can support us in ways that include giving a gift or joining the Substack where we
Hmm.
post the correspondence and the beautiful pictures that people send us and our correspondence back with them. Also, we'd like you to know that this program is a friend of Dakin Humane
Taken.
Society. Dakin is a wonderful program here in Springfield, Massachusetts, that very large animal shelter and adoption center, and they offer a lot of resources. One of which is a pet loss support group over Zoom that I facilitate once a month. It's on the second Tuesday of the month from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and there's an RSVP link in the description. The program doesn't have any cost for attendance, but we do
Hmm.
want you to RSVP because we cap at 50, and usually we get a few less than that, but we don't want the meeting to be so large that it's just
People need to
not.
talk, right? You
Yeah,
need to
people
have the
some
ability
people need to talk. Oh, you can come and not
and
talk
listen.
and just audit the discussion, but we cap it. And the reason I tell you that is that if you RSVP and then you are clear that you can't make it, it would be helpful if you just send me a note day before or so and tell me a couple days before and tell me that, and I'll reopen the program, the RSVP. And also, we want to just ask if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Thank you to all
Yeah,
the people who have subscribed.
it's
The
really helpful.
subscriber list is growing all the time, and it helps other people find the program because, as you probably know, the algorithm for YouTube lets a program that has a lot of subscribers come to the top of the list when people are looking for a particular kind of resource, and in this case, pet loss support.
Hmm.
So please subscribe if you have already subscribed. Maybe you can leave a comment or a thumbs up. They have the
Hmm.
same effect. And thank you so much. Somebody just gave a comment. That's really,
Yes,
really
thank you.
helpful. We appreciate it. And also, we just want to let you know that we have an affiliate relationship with a company called Bereave that makes these really beautifully crafted memorial plaques. They're granite and
Yeah,
they are
absolutely
heavy
stunning.
and really beautifully engraved. And if you purchase a plaque through the link in our description, we will get a little bit of a measure of support as part of
Hmm.
your cost. We will also let you know that if you look at the bottom of our description, there are friends of the program there who offer various kinds of supportive
Hmm.
resources that may be helpful for you. So
Yeah.
they may be helpful to you in addition to this program. And so, Nancy, you want to get us
Yeah.
started for today?
Um, we have a story tonight from Rebecca about her beloved Riley, and it's kind of in a three-part, email. Um, Very heartfelt, um, amazing reiteration of her life with her beautiful Reilly and what happened. So I'm going to read two of them, and Ken's going to pick up the last one. Reilly left this world at 3 a.m. on 11/10/25, just 1 week before his 15th birthday. He was in my arms, and I'm grateful that I could keep him comfortable as he took his last breath. Those of you who have met or known me throughout these past 15 years are familiar with Reilly, and you know there are no words in our human language that could touch upon his soul's connection to mine. He was my world, my longest relationship, my primary joy, and my most consistent source of love and shared memories for these past 15 years. I don't have children or siblings. No other soul has been able to sit with my trauma and pain, my truest self, without looking away. Reilly was there through the rock bottom of addiction and the grace of my recovery. He saw all the good and the bad. He never judged and never stopped looking at me as if I was the sun, never stopped looking at me as if I were the sun, the moon, and all the stars. This loss of unconditional love is not something I can live with just yet. I've been trying to listen to your podcast, trying to find some comfort, but it's been difficult. I just feel like I was a different kind of dog mom. Let me explain. Reilly was my world. I knew not anything about owning a dog, and he came into my life at 10 weeks old. He was born on a farm in New Hampshire. His mom and dad, both AKC miniature poodles, that their owners decided to breed just once. I went to see these puppies with plans of coming back with a black female, but Reilly had other plans. With his signature underbite and scruffy attitude, he was uninterested in playing with his siblings and ran up to me immediately. What followed in the next 15 years is a story that is too filled with both heartache and wonder to really explain here. I chuckle with she struggled with infertility, miscarriages, a painful divorce, extremely toxic rebound relationship, the rock bottom of addiction, and the grace of recovery, all with Reilly by my side. I'm an only child, and I was never able to have children I desperately wanted, but Reilly was always there. Except for the times I was away at rehab, we never missed our nightly walk or a chance to play ball or falling asleep beside each other. In 2017, we moved to help my parents, who were aging and needed more support. Reilly intermittently had medical issues, a dislocated hip in 2017 and pancreatitis in 2019, on and off, but always made a full recovery. He took no medications besides eye drops and had no chronic medical issues beyond dry eyes and a special diet for his history of bladder stones, which had a successful surgery and great recovery in 2021. This past year, he began struggling with skin allergies and required treatment with antibiotics for staph infection on his skin. But as soon as I cut chicken out of his diet, his skin improved significantly. Reilly and I shared a soul contract. He knew for certain that I was never going to put Reilly through any kind of excessive testing or aggressive treatment to prolong his life if the quality of that life would be diminished. I was never going to prolong his suffering. I was never going to keep him alive if he couldn't walk or chase his ball or do the things he loved to do. I was never going to keep him alive to prevent my own pain. 6 weeks ago, Reilly had his yearly labs, which showed anemia, indicative of possible cancer. He has been slowing down and very clingy since this summer, and perhaps deep down, our souls knew what was coming. On Sunday, 11/9/25, we had a game of toss the ball around the kitchen in the morning. That night around 6, he had what I believe was a stroke. If you can't shake and collapse to the ground, he can't shake and collapse to the ground and could no longer stand. So he was shaking. I'm sorry. The look at his eyes told me everything I needed to know. Our soul contract told me everything I needed to know. It was 6 days before his 15th birthday. If it had been during the day or during the work week, I would have brought him in to be euthanized, but that was not an option. My grandmother, recently on hospice, And so I had to access liquid morphine and was able to hold him in my arms throughout the night as he slowly died in my arms at 3 a.m. I can't get to tell you how destroyed I am. I can't begin to tell you the grief that walks beside me and controls everything I do. I resent my parents because if they weren't here, I would leave this world and that I enjoyed with him. I resent coworkers because most of them have not acknowledged my loss, and I am a hospice social worker. I have nothing to give. I don't have a husband. I don't have many friends. I don't have children or siblings or cousins. And my parents, I won't be here for long. They are in their mid to late 80s. My best friend of 30 years. She was the other person in this world that knew me and loved me when I couldn't love myself. She died suddenly this past June of 25. Reilly got me through that loss, and now he's gone too. You don't have to feel bad for me because this is the life we are sent um, to live. I started listening to your podcast because I thought I would find solace, but I just am so unlike every person I listen to on this podcast. I feel like every one of them are trying these desperate measures to keep their pets alive. It sounds like they're torturing their pets for selfish reasons, x-rays, chemotherapy, surgery, and procedures, and specialists, and on and on and on. It's just not anything I would ever do to an animal. I treated Reilly when he needed treatment. He had the expensive surgery when there was a chance of full recovery, and he wouldn't need constant procedures, and it wouldn't affect his quality of life. He was on medications for short periods of time when it was appropriate, and he was improving. Maybe I'm being judgmental, but I would have never done anything that would have meant Reilly suffered over a prolonged period of time. I just wish I could listen to someone that felt the way I do, that is hurting the way I am, and that understands the pain that took over my life. Now, she did write after that and said that her grammar was very bad. She was very emotional. And so, obviously, when I read some of this, and I had to try to make it a little bit of sense.
Well, also she said that she wrote it on a phone, and so
Right.
autocorrect
Yeah.
was at it, which
Yeah.
is can be very. It can hear what we say
And not
incorrectly,
necessarily, right. And not
incorrectly,
necessarily
and I
write it that
caught
way.
couple of instances where I could see that that was happening.
Yeah.
And so, but we appreciate
Oh, my
that she sent
goodness.
us this story, and I'll read the next
Right.
piece that she gave us, which is, I was recently able to write this about his actual passing. Reilly died approximately 6 hours after having what I believe was most likely some type of a major stroke or a grand mal seizure. He took his last breath at 3 a.m. on Monday, November 10th of 2025, while lying beside me in our bed. He was 6 days away from his 15th birthday. He had a good morning playing ball and let's kill Lambie. I'm assuming Lambie is a stuffed animal,
Yeah.
but had spent most of the weekend with me in bed while I recovered from bronchitis. He has been slowing down for a while, and when I think back to this last summer, I believe we cling to every moment because we knew his journey was coming to an end. In early October, lab work showed possible evidence of cancer, and although I knew I would never put him through invasive treatment and testing or anything that diminished his quality of life, we were going to have follow up labs later that week. After the event, whether it was a stroke or a seizure, it's as if I knew exactly what to do. I picked up his body and brought him up to our room, laying him gently on our bed while quietly reassuring him that everything was okay, and I would make sure he was comfortable. This is not my typical demeanor, as I was the dog mom crying at every vet visit, even the routine checkups. Reilly and I have a soul connection, and over the next 6 hours, his soul told mine exactly what he did and did not need. When his respirations began increasing, I was able to call the hospice nurse I work with. She guided me as I used small amounts of liquid morphine, my mother's prescription, to ensure Reilly was as comfortable as possible. Those hours were heartbreakingly sacred as Reilly drifted in and out of consciousness, and I told him over and over again how grateful I was for every moment we had together, the last 15 years. As I told him he was the best boy in the entire world and reminded him how he saved me a million different ways as I struggled through the rock bottom of addiction and the grief of recovery. I thanked him for never being afraid to sit with me as I learned to feel my own trauma and pain. I thanked him for not looking away, for seeing my truth and still looking at me as if I were the sun, the moon, and the stars. And then he was gone. I was so exhausted, I fell asleep with his body beside me. I did I didn't want anybody to take it away. It was too painful. It was so painful. I knew he was gone, but his body, I just couldn't accept that. I had to hand it over to somebody else. So,
Wow, there's a lot here.
yeah, there
And
sure is.
I want to say to Rebecca that you're very brave and very courageous to talk about how Reilly really helped you through a lot of very difficult challenges in your life.
Yeah, addiction, recovery, very difficult relational changes. And so I agree. Very, very courageous.
Very courageous,
And the
dear.
more that people are open about these very typical challenges, the less the stigma clings to
That's
them.
right.
So we're really grateful for your mention. And you said that you feel like you're different than most dog moms, and I I feel like what you're saying. I mean, we're gonna try to. It, the, what I take away from what you're saying, let me say, because I really am not sure if I can capture it accurately, is that you see people doing things that I would call futile care
Mm,
quite a bit, and and those are things like all sorts of tests and all sorts of procedures that are difficult and distressing and painful and unlikely to change the fact
right.
that your animal companion is dying.
Yeah.
And now, on the other hand, many times people will engage in whatever they think will make sure that their animal companion gets whatever kind of treatment
Yeah.
or evaluation that they think may have offer hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very hard line. It's a
Right.
very hard line to make sense of.
Right.
And what's clear is that you were very clear about what made sense for you and Reilly.
And
And
Reilly.
that's very beautiful.
Yes. I mean, you knew that you did not want him to suffer. And
Hmm.
that is was beautiful for Reilly. And the whole process of course you are a hospice, social work, but the whole process of being able to to help him not have pain until through that ending is really quite special. And it was you and he and the universe and holding him and letting him breathe his last breath was so important for you and for him, because you had been together and it had this bond, this amazingly connected bond. And unfortunately, they just don't.
They don't live long enough, and but the kind of connection that Rebecca describes with Reilly is just so tight
Powerful.
and so intimate and so meaningful, and it's the kind of connection that we know is just so gut wrenching when your animal companion dies, because not only was he such a great support, but he lived with you through such an era of your life that it's clearly the end of an era, and you are also somebody who's had a lot of losses recently. The
Yeah,
loss of a dear
yourself.
friend
Mm-hmm.
back in June, and your parents are, it sounds like,
Or
quite
not.
elderly and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps quite vulnerable themselves, and not a lot of social connection. So your animal companion meant the world to you, as you described.
I also interesting because now that I work at a vet, right, an ER vet, and there's a lot of euthanasias, and I work with veterinarians that are doing this kind of work, and it's
Hmm.
really hard for them, but they do it, right? Um, but there's if Rebecca being in hospice, there's a little bit of more information on how death goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
not just for people, but for animals too, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
maybe a little bit different with animals because there's no ability to speak, you know.
Hmm.
So I can understand now, as I'm thinking through this, that she would not want him to suffer.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, and other times, which she has seen probably with humans, but sometimes maybe with other animals, I don't know, is that pet parents are so frightened they don't know what to do, and they do want their animal to live, and they're very overwhelmed emotionally and maybe are not making the best decisions for the animal because I know that veterinarians know, right?
Yeah.
They will know it's time, but the pet parents in some ways have to get to that place, right?
Yeah, it's emotionally very complicated,
Yeah.
particularly for people, as you said, who are not in healthcare and they're certainly not in hospice care, because, and we've mentioned this quite a few times, that we live in a culture that is really phobic about death and
Oh
dying,
yes, terribly.
and it is something that most people are keeping as far away from as they possibly can, and so they're totally at a loss when it comes to understanding it, accepting it, being present, even
Yeah.
emotionally present in a way that is absolutely full hearted, because it's just so alien to
Yeah.
most
Right.
people. We have a comment that I want to share. It's from Kara, who says, "I applaud you for making this excruciating decision with the confidence you
Yeah.
did." And I think that that's great. That's just a really great comment.
And then she commented another one. Did you
Yeah,
see it
it
come up?
says, "It brings some comfort to me having had to make this decision myself." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right.
really affirming, right? That here we have somebody who works in hospice who is like, I know what's happening and I know how to help my beloved companion transition out of their suffering, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I'm going to use the guidance of a nurse
Yeah.
as I do that. And she felt like she had to do it because it was a Sunday,
Right.
and
She
she
did. She
wasn't
wasn't going
gonna.
to wait. Right. She
Yeah,
wasn't going to
the
wait.
you know,
But she had the ability to have some morphine, I think, which
yeah,
helped.
yeah, her
Um,
mother. Yep, yep.
excuse me. But that, I think for some of us, I going through this. You and I have worked with people for a long time, and there's usually always guilt, right? No
Hmm.
matter what, what decision they make, right?
Yep.
Too soon, too late, all of these things. I do think for certain people, in my in my personal experience, because I grew up on a farm and I saw death with animals all the time, there was a process that I understood.
Hmm.
And when all of the eight pugs that we've had and a Frenchie that have crossed over the bridge, you know, I don't I don't think we've had really any guilt because we've understood and we're good with this. My husband and I were good with this, that their time is up. And also, and I remember with our Lulu, she had a mast cell tumor that was very large on her high back end. And when my vet um, talked about it, she said 6 months. Okay. So she said seizures and vomiting.
Hmm.
And almost 6 months to the day, she vomited and had a seizure. And so we went.
Hmm.
There was no, and with Ellie, when we all of a sudden knew she wasn't going to eat. She had been falling and over and doing some different things and seemed uncomfortable. But when she didn't eat, we were okay with that. And we took her, and she died even before the final injection. Now, but I think that's part of what my experience has been,
Hmm.
you know, and some of us do have those kind of experience, and some, like Ken, you said, don't.
Hmm.
It's their first dog or cat, and they don't want to. They're overwhelmed, and they're so emotional, and they don't know what to say or what to do or how to make that decision. And so, um, I think Rebecca, you were an amazing pet parent, pet mom. And it was just your experience that could help you make that decision for
Yeah.
Riley.
And we have had people tell us that they they help their dog or cat or horse or whoever transition before they were suffering greatly.
Yes, that is true.
This, and I recently heard in one of our meetings, I heard somebody say that I don't know if it was a veterinarian or they said it themselves. They said it better a month or a week too soon than a day too late.
Yeah.
And so people actually have different philosophies about the
About good death
timing.
or
Yeah, yeah,
euthanasia or letting
yeah,
them die on the
right.
road, right?
And
Some
that's what
people
euthanasia
would
means,
not.
right? It means good
Good
death.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things I come back to often is it's very hard to say that there's, in fact, I don't think that there are many absolutes here of
No.
rights and
Mm-mm.
wrongs.
Mm-mm.
It's what you, your
You
animal
feel.
companion, your veterinarian,
Yeah.
other people who are very closely connected come to in terms of a consensus, and you make the best decision you can with the
Exactly.
information available at the time and try to move forward with grace after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we want to
Um,
thank Rebecca greatly
really.
for sharing this. I do think that this is going to help a number of people, as
Yes.
Kara mentioned, to be more at peace. And I'm thinking about some of the people who have been just
Guilt ridden. I mean,
really guilt ridden and having such a hard time accepting the
that
death or
they made
the
a
timing of the death.
decision, right?
Yeah, that they accepted perhaps the recommendation of the veterinarian who said, there's no path forward here, and probably better to let your animal go now than to try to do heroic measures to bring them back. I hope that this conversation has been helpful to people, and I think it
Yeah.
will be because Rebecca was so very clear.
Oh, Rebecca, it was amazingly personal, sacred story for her
Yeah,
with this little dog that she was so bonded
such a
to.
beautiful old dog too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so sweet, Riley.
So we wish you well during your journey. I know it's not going
Yeah,
to be easy for the short term, but we'll be happy to hear how you're doing too
yeah.
over time.
Let us know.
And again, if this program is helpful for you, please, if you haven't already, if you could subscribe, that would be helpful. If you want to leave a comment or thumbs up, all of that is helpful to others who may benefit from the podcast.
Yes.
And
Thank you,
Nancy, great
Rebecca.
talking with you, and I'll
Yes,
see you next
you
week.
too,
Thank
Ken.
you again, Rebecca. Yeah.